Alright, today isn't some sort of info dump or a guide or an investigation. It's a hot take. Maybe a lukewarm take, obviously, as the title makes clear. I don't know. But witnessing the discourse of Starfield over the past week or so has made me moderately depressed and also forced me to realize just how polluted and angry the gaming community has now become. For those who don't know, when I talk about angry gamers, I actually have a pretty robust foundation to draw from, more than many people might expect. Back in 2019, CNET actually wrote a hit piece about me called Meet the Angry Gaming YouTubers Who Turn Outrage into Cash. And yeah, it wasn't just about me, but I was the one who actually got tricked the most and straight up talked to the sleazeball who was writing it for like an hour and a half. The entire premise was that people like me, people who criticize video games, are overtly aggressive, unnecessarily outraged, and we basically grift our audiences with angry commentary for no reason. He completely ignored the consumer advocacy stuff and my far more articulated reasons, but whatever. Obviously, I disagree with how that article was portrayed. However, witnessing the discourse unfold with regards to Starfield, it actually gets quite a bit harder for me to do that right now. A few days ago, I published my initial impressions for the game, and the nicest way to put it, the nicest way possible, is that I enjoy Starfield for what it is. I'm at a point in my life where maybe I'm just more open to seeing the good side of things rather than the negative, and I chose to see the bright side while complimenting the things that Starfield gets right. I stand by those impressions, okay? I do. And sure, I probably didn't need to say right from the onset that the haters of the game were wrong, but then again, why should I care about calling people wrong? I do it in a much more aggressive way elsewhere on the channel. I go after scammers and con artists rather often with inflammatory rhetoric, so why wouldn't I project some, at least some, of that same energy here, albeit a much more subdued version? Likewise, people say whatever they want in the comment section about and towards me, or other creators for that matter, so give and get. The name of the game. That being said, what came back as a result was honestly baffling. I genuinely enjoy many different aspects of Starfield. The ship creator, for me, despite somewhat janky controls, is a game in and of itself, while I have a tremendous amount of fun just experiencing some of the random encounters, exploring planets and killing random camps of enemies, or learning the intricacies of how and where I can break the game physics to become stupidly overpowered. That's like a super cool thing for me to do in games. That's my objective. Beyond what the developers intended, really. It's enjoyable, yet imperfect, fun, but very flawed, and I really don't have any problem saying that out loud. Here's the thing, that video has resulted in a rather abundant number of people unsubscribing, which is fine, that's their prerogative, while I get inundated with comments and even private messages, some of them, about how I am unironically, according to these people, paid by Bethesda, shilling the woke agenda, and betraying the essence of video games, or some nasty stuff involving Todd Howard. They like to say that stuff too. That's just to name a few. Let's just get something out of the way once and for all. Here's what a snapshot of my prior Bethesda game coverage looks like during the era of Fallout 76, for anyone who remembers that. Totally scumbag beta. Complete garbage. Let's kick a dead Fallout 76. More glitch than game. Bethesda's broken promise. Or the Hindenburg of gaming. That's my coverage, and my tone should be very obvious. I have zero problem criticizing games or developers or publishers with merciless rhetoric, but I genuinely do not believe that such a level of one-sided critique is justified here and now, in particular with Starfield. But what am I if not a man of the people, so for those of you who need to have it, if you must hear it, fine. Here it is. The game is absolutely huge, technically speaking, in terms of raw content and number of planets, yet somehow they managed to create a fast travel simulator, which is the precise opposite of what they led the audience to believe with their marketing material and completely breaks immersion, which is a blunder and a half. The inventory system is terrible, but I circumvented that by investing heavily into my starship building and making a 5,000 cargo capacity freighter. It worked, however, yeah, some people will think that's very tedious. The combat is fucking awful because the mob AI is brain dead. You can break line of sight and they just get confused and walk around. The tactics are on par with something you would have seen at least 10 years ago. And the difficulty is all over the place because clearly the numerical internal balancing is extremely botched. I have fun with broken combat systems, myself personally I do, because I can exploit them to feel overpowered and again break the game. But if you don't like doing something like that, obviously you'll think the gunplay and combat sucks. Dialogue is deceptively shallow. I actually didn't even see how bad this part was till after my initial impressions when I did a bit of save scumming and found out that it's basically a giant spider web of false choices. And a lot of the planets are just dead real estate. There's no point to be there. They just serve the purpose of another planet you can technically go to, exclamation point, and nothing more. I found this out yesterday in a pretty brutal way, where over the span of like 2 hours, I encountered the exact same bandit base 3 times. It was the abandoned hangar location and appeared on separate planets with everything precisely identical, just different levels of mobs. The main city is completely soulless. It's boring. Not acceptable boring, worse than boring for that part. It's a chore to even go there because why would I go somewhere that doesn't interest me? But Neon or Echelon, those other cities are much better. When I stopped fixating on the things I hate, I found that I could be a smooth-talking introverted scavenger on Neon and have way more fun. The skill system is padded out, and though there are certainly a number of really cool choices and progressive unlocks, after level 30 or so it starts to slow down and feel a little too punishing without some sort of perk reset option, which I don't believe exists. To be fair, I found a great way to level up on higher level jungle type planets really early on, so I overcame that issue rather quickly. Again, that's how I play, I break things, but that's what I enjoy. Break them for my own enjoyment, so I don't know, if you don't like that, it's going to be a different story. Graphics aren't very good, however I tend to not care about that a whole bunch in any game I play. It's not about the graphics to me. And the lack of intuitive map systems absolutely increases your level of frustration while trying to explore the galaxy. I could continue. There's much more I could fixate on, to be sure, but please hear me when I say this. Despite all of that, I'm still excited to log in. I'm still excited to chase down pirate ships that land off in the distance on various planets, hijack them, take them back to a city, sell the parts off as I look for the right internal habitat modules that hold crafting benches. By the time I'm done, I'm going to be flying around my own version of a Death Star. It's going to happen. And then continue construction of my, whatever you want to call it, central super freighter, right? That is very fun for me. Yeah, it was tedious traveling all around the universe with the grav jumps till I spent a little bit of time refining the ship, and now I can go halfway across the entire playable space in one single move. Yeah, that's also kind of stupid because this is supposed to be a huge immersive sandbox, and the fast travel breaks the shit out of the immersion. But I get off on efficiency. I play games to get things fast, to break them and be overpowered beyond what the developers intended. So the ability to instantly teleport across the universe after spending however many hours of my time grinding out resources and credits to make it happen, it's a dopamine hit for me. It's a reward, and I like that I can do it. Even still, this really isn't about me defending my personal enjoyment of the game, because I shouldn't have to, and it's perfectly fine to enjoy it, okay? Period. It is also perfectly fine, however, to say, I hate that shit. Get it away from me, it's garbage. And a lot of people are saying that right now. And they can say that. This is where it gets bad. I don't know who this person is, Nina Infinity. I watched some of her stream to get an idea while making this video, and she seems like she just plays games and commentates on them, same as the rest of us. However, let me just read it out loud. Quote, I made a tweet about refunding Starfield because I was annoyed about the pronouns and because the game did not run well on my system. And for the past 4 days, I have gotten demonetization threats, people wishing death on me, people telling me to go demonetize myself, attacked because of my looks, called a pick-me, a demonetized phobe, you name it. They're now in my Insta and YouTube comments also, commenting on completely unrelated things to try and gotcha me, all because I asked for a refund on a video game. I never called for a boycott of it. I never told anyone else to do what I did. I've always maintained that people should enjoy what they enjoy. And I'm told that I'm a snowflake because I've made a big deal out of nothing. Who is actually making a big deal out of nothing? End quote. Even though it wasn't actually a full quote because I put my own words in there, but yeah, you get the picture. On the one hand, being attacked online isn't a bug, it's a feature. I've had my own ups and downs, brush-ups with that in the past. Some of them were pretty bad, especially in video games, go figure. But on the other, what in the world is going on where a game like this and small things like that are being used to just mercilessly attack each other to such an extreme extent constantly? She doesn't deserve that. No one does. Right now, in a weird way, I can see both sides of the coin, as if that were physically possible, simultaneously. I don't really know how it happened, but hopefully I can make some nuanced content while I'm here. I have made videos in the past, no joke, titled, SJW Culture is Ruining Gaming. And I still 100% understand why I made that content. I still stand by it to a degree, but with new perspective, of course, over time. I also realized that Starfield allowed me to have 70 hours so far at least of enjoyment, and woke politics never appeared more than one simple selection of pronouns. I know there's a little bit more of that in the game. People have been really aggressively trying to tell me it, but personal experience, I didn't see it. I saw one thing, I pressed one button, I got into it, and then I just didn't notice that stuff rearing its head. I wasn't aware of it, and it didn't jump out at me or ruin the experience in the slightest. That's just my honest opinion. How rotted have our brains become where something that's supposed to be an escapist fantasy is now, you can say things are infiltrating it or whatever, but it's supposed to be an escapist fantasy, is now a rallying cry for Xbox and Sony fans to attack each other over exclusivity rights. Right and left political ideologues get to attack each other over the game's perceived message, and players of the game itself get to attack each other because some of them enjoy it while others don't. The entire thing is just such a wake-up call. Here's another example of what I'm talking about. Alana Pierce, who now works for Sony, and she was actually being attacked by some people because she shouldn't even ever stream the game because of its affiliation with Microsoft, and it's really stupid when you read it. I mean, I can't get it out of my head now how dumb the discourse has become. But anyway, she streamed herself for 7 continuous hours traveling across the solar system to Pluto. When she eventually got there, she phased right through the planet's surface. That's obviously kind of funny, and also highlights how some of the game's more egregious flaws have come through when you compare it to the manufactured expectations. I mean, look, overinflated expectations is a better word, but I'm not trying to attack people that thought they were getting something else. I mean, Bethesda and marketing and all that, there's plenty to criticize in gaming, okay? I'm not trying to say there isn't. But, back on task, she also had to readjust every 30 minutes or so because of a fully functional day-night cycle and planetary rotations that were taking place in real time, which is kind of cool. For context, before my Twitter account got completely removed, I had some kind of argument, I can't remember now, with Alana in a thread somewhere, and I don't recall what it was, but I know I was wrong. I regretted it after, and I look back now understanding in real time that the basis foundations of my extremely angry and vitriolic opinions about video games were there, okay? I had reasons to feel protective or upset, and for a lot of hobbies, gatekeeping is 100% necessary, else the hobby gets destroyed. But the way that all of it unfolded was just so blatantly wrong and had no productive use in the world. I look back sort of in shame about how I handled it. Maybe that's called growing up. I don't know. My point is this. Starfield is a pretty messed up video game if you want to look at it through that lens, but the level of vitriol we see right now spewed across forums and threads and live streams all over the place, it just feels wrong. Like deep down in my gut, it feels wrong too much. You can call the game dog shit and you'd have valid reasons to do it. Likewise, you could call the game a masterpiece after exploring it for 100+ hours, and you would have equally valid reasons to do that as well. Maybe not equally valid. This game just objectively cannot be a 10 out of 10. Okay, I'm sorry. Objectively, it's not a 10 out of 10 ever. That's pretty clear. But you could defend a 7 or an 8, or maybe even a 9 if you really thought it through and had incredibly precise definitions of what that score pertains to. Age-old truth, the most extreme stuff on YouTube gets the views. When I called Fallout 76 garbage with like really extreme rhetoric, I got 500,000. When I said SJW culture is ruining gaming, I got over 1 million views. But for Starfield, my actual opinion is so much less satisfying or divisive. It's lukewarm. It's a game that I've found a way to have a great deal of fun with, at a time in my life when I want to have fun with a game, and it's a game a lot of people have been waiting for. But it's not a game that deserves to become the focal point of a console war, a political powder keg, and a social media gamer civil war of sorts, all at once at the same time. I'm getting pretty close to being ready for my final review, which will come out when I feel I've attained the level of undeniable expert, familiar with bugs, the exploits, the quests, and the internal systems alike, all of it. But for right now, the discourse of Starfield is absolutely shameful, in my opinion. You can hate the game. Absolutely, you can hate the game. But it doesn't deserve to be a paragon of everything wrong in the industry. Likewise, you can love the game, but you cannot go around pretending that people who criticize it are somehow gamer chuds or too negative. Angry Joe has been getting reamed for this on Twitter, and in reality, he has some of the same sort of opinions he's always had, articulating them in the same ways, and they're valid, but some people feel so unbelievably attached to Starfield, right to their very core, their identity as a person, they resort to personal attacks, really, really extreme attacks, when the thing that they identify with is criticized even slightly. It's been a super, super long-winded way of saying this, but after my years in gaming, of which there are a decent number now, I look at Starfield with absolute disgust. Not because of the game itself, but because of how we as players are reacting to it, and how easy it is, easier than it ever has been, I expect, to spiral off into more and more extreme, critical, or protective discourse. How about we stop doing that for a little bit and touch some fucking grass? That's it. Maybe I get reamed for this one in the comment section too, I don't know, but after typing all of this out, sitting here and reading my script repeatedly over and over, I genuinely feel better. That's my take. Stop fighting so much about Starfield. Because the cold, hard, honest truth is that love it or hate it, the game is just not worth that particular brand of time and energy. And I say this as someone who basically made a career out of being negative and angry. So I see both sides of the coin. It's just new perspective over time. I still understand why I said a lot of those things, and I agree with a lot of them still. But now I see the world in a different way over the past few years. So yeah, the Starfield discourse is absolutely shameful. It's not lost on me how hypocritical all of this is. I'm monetizing myself, complaining about people complaining about a game. It's not lost on me, okay? I get it. But I do genuinely mean what I'm trying to say. With a long history in gaming, where I came from, how I used to be, how I am now, I actually think that everyone should kind of let it go, and that the discourse around this, the review stuff, the Sony fans, the Microsoft fans, the left and the right, politics being involved, like all this stuff, it's just too much, man. It's a video game. Just enjoy it or don't enjoy it. You can talk shit about it or you can say it's great, but just stop attacking each other. If you want to support, please do consider locals, Patreon, or channel memberships. Ad revenue is completely destroyed on YouTube, and yeah, those are just way better and more secure for me as a creator. If not, hopefully I'll be a lot more consistent with the content now, and any brands who want to work with me for sponsorships, my email is down below. I'm trying to work with, I don't know, brands that really want to be with the channel and not just go down the road of the big corporate ones, but whatever. Thank you all for watching, and have a nice night.